Have you ever noticed how the wealthiest people in the world seem obsessed with looking ordinary? You'll see billionaires in worn-out sneakers, tech moguls in the same bland t-shirt every day, or heirs to family fortunes driving cars older than your uncle's. At first glance, it's disarming. You might even think, wow, they're just like us. But that illusion is the point. The rich don't put on the mask of poverty because they love simplicity. They do it because it is one of the sharpest political tools ever invented, the disguise of humility. For those at the top, appearances are never accidents. A rich man who flaunts his power draws envy, suspicion, and enemies. But a rich man who hides his power behind modest clothes and plain speech disarms critics before they even raise their voices. He is harder to attack because he looks harmless. He is easier to trust because he looks humble. His disguise allows him to control the narrative, all while enjoying privileges hidden from view. But here lies the paradox that matters most for you. When the poor man imitates this trick, he gains nothing. If he dresses modestly, people assume it's because he has no choice. If he lives simply, they see not discipline but necessity. The very same behavior that protects and strengthens the rich condemns the poor to invisibility. This is why you must learn the rules of the game, why the wealthy love to act poor, how it gives them advantage, and why copying them will only leave you weaker. The nature of power and disguise. Every society runs on theater. Kings stage ceremonies to prove their right to rule. Politicians wear fake smiles to appear approachable. Generals pretend to be confident even when terrified. None of these are lies in the shallow sense, they are tactics. Power survives by controlling perception. The wealthy understand this instinctively. If they reveal the full scale of their wealth, they invite resentment. Resentment is not harmless, it breeds plots, revolts, and schemes to tear them down. But if they hide their wealth, by living in houses that seem smaller, dressing without jewels, eating plainly, they redirect the gaze of others. They appear harmless, approachable, even fragile. This disguise shields them better than walls or guards. For the ordinary man, the disguise of poverty is no disguise at all. It is the truth of his life. There are no treasures waiting behind the curtain. There is no palace hidden behind a modest exterior. Thus, what works as a cloak for the rich becomes a chain for the poor. When you appear weak and you are weak, the world treats you accordingly. This is why the same costume means safety for the powerful and danger for the powerless. The strategic advantages of seeming poor. The first advantage of false poverty is protection from envy. Envy is more dangerous than hatred, because envy never sleeps. Hatred can be disarmed by kindness or crushed by force, but envy cannot be so easily destroyed. It feeds on comparison. A man who appears ordinary does not inspire as much jealousy as a man who flaunts his fortune. By lowering expectations, the wealthy protect themselves from the poison of envy. The second advantage is the power of underestimation. A rich man who appears ordinary lulls his competitors into carelessness. If they do not see his true resources, they prepare too little. They underestimate his influence, his connections, his ability to strike. And in politics and business, being underestimated is often more useful than being feared. Like a lion wearing the skin of a sheep, he moves unnoticed until the moment of attack. The third advantage is the loyalty purchased through the illusion of humility. People love to believe their leaders are just like them. A billionaire who eats at a fast food restaurant wins more affection than one who serves banquets. A tech mogul in a hoodie earns more trust than one in a golden robe. These acts are not random quirks, they are investments. By appearing modest, the wealthy lower the price of loyalty. They gain allies who believe they are serving someone ordinary, not someone already towering over them. The theater of morality. Wealth is always suspicious. From ancient times to today, people assume riches corrupt the soul. The rich know this, so they stage morality plays in which they perform humility. They walk about in simple clothes, talk about the value of hard work, and donate small amounts publicly while hoarding much more in secret. This is not virtue, it is strategy. Modern billionaires are especially skilled in this theater. They wear identical t-shirts and sneakers every day, claiming it saves them from decision fatigue. The crowd applauds, saying, "See? He doesn't care for riches." But this is sleight of hand. The man with private islands, super yachts, and entire teams of servants pretends to live like a monk. His uniform of simplicity is not born of poverty but of design. It is a mask that convinces the public he is moral and disciplined. Now compare this to the poor man wearing the same shirt every day. He does so because he has no choice. No one admires him for discipline. No one says, "What genius, he has simplified his life." Instead, they pity him, or worse, they scorn him. This is the cruel trick of appearances, the same action, judged differently depending on who performs it. Wealthy simplicity looks like strength, poor simplicity looks like weakness, and that is why the poor must never attempt to use the same disguise. Historical lessons in disguise. History is full of rich men pretending to be poor. This trick is not new. It is as old as civilization itself. In ancient Rome, patricians often dressed in plain wool garments, avoiding jewelry or flamboyant displays in public. To the casual observer, they looked like ordinary citizens. But behind their villa walls were endless halls of marble, golden statues, and slaves to serve their every need. Their public modesty was a calculated performance. It reassured the Roman people that their leaders had not become too decadent, even as those same leaders drowned in luxury behind closed doors. Florence offers another example. The great merchant families, especially the Medici, mastered the art of disguise. Their palaces were deliberately built with austere stone facades, plain, almost stern. From the street, one might believe these were the homes of disciplined and frugal men. Step inside, however, and one found rooms painted by the greatest artists of the age, floors paved with rare marble, and libraries overflowing with knowledge bought at any price. This duality, poverty on the outside, opulence within, was a shield. It concealed their power from envious eyes and disarmed accusations of arrogance. Consider also the lives of religious leaders who wielded wealth and power. Many popes of the Renaissance spoke of humility while surrounding themselves with treasures looted from across Europe. They walked barefoot in ceremonies or ate meager meals in public as symbols of their devotion. Meanwhile, their private chambers gleamed with jewels, gold chalices, and tapestries worth fortunes. They knew what Machiavelli himself understood, that men judge more by appearances than by truth. To look poor was to look virtuous. To look virtuous was to remain untouchable. The risks of envy. Why does the rich man pretend to be poor? Because envy is deadly. Envy is more destructive than hatred, for envy needs no reason, no crime, no injustice. A man may envy another simply for existing in greater comfort. Envy corrodes society, turning neighbor against neighbor, worker against master, and citizens against rulers. And when envy erupts, it does not merely wound, it topples. The French nobility learned this too late. They flaunted their riches at Versailles, while peasants starved in villages. Their luxury parades became public insult. Envy grew into rage, and rage into revolution. Heads rolled from guillotines because the rich displayed their fortune too openly. If those nobles had worn humility instead of silk, they might have survived. Appearances could have bought them more time, more loyalty, perhaps even more obedience, but arrogance destroyed them. The rich man today remembers these lessons. He does not post pictures of his yacht while the public struggles to buy bread. Instead, he posts pictures of himself eating pizza in a hoodie. It is the same tactic Roman patricians used, reborn for social media. To pretend to be poor is to inoculate oneself against envy. It is not foolproof, but it is stronger than flaunting wealth in the faces of the desperate. Manipulation in politics. Nowhere is the performance of poverty more useful than in politics. A politician who is wealthy must never appear wealthy. If he campaigns in silk suits, men distrust him. If he shows his estates, men resent him. But if he wears cheap shoes, eats in diners, and speaks of his humble roots, the crowd believes him. They forget his fortune and believe he understands their struggles. His humility buys him votes more cheaply than any campaign donation. This tactic is as old as republics. In the Roman Republic, generals who sought office paraded themselves as men of the people even when their fortunes rivaled kings. In modern democracies, billionaires running for office claim to be outsiders, ordinary workers, even victims of the same system they secretly own. And the public, eager to believe in saviors, rewards them for this play acting. But do not mistake this performance for truth. The politician who pretends to be poor is often the richest man in the chamber. He wears plain suits, not because he cannot afford better, but because he knows the crowd hates silk. He speaks of working people not because he is one, but because he knows they are many. He pretends solidarity to secure obedience. For him, false poverty is not a burden. It is the cheapest bribe he can pay. Why you should not copy them. Here lies the trap for ordinary people. You see the rich pretending to be poor and think it is noble. You think if I live simply, if I show humility, I too will be respected. But this is a fatal error. When the rich pretend poverty, it is a mask hiding strength. When the poor live poverty, it is reality. And reality wins no admiration. If a poor man dresses plainly, no one praises his discipline. They assume he is simply broke. If he eats modestly, no one applauds his restraint. They assume he cannot afford more. If he speaks humbly, no one sees virtue. They see weakness. Without the power of wealth behind the performance, simplicity is not a disguise but a confession. Worse still, the poor man who copies the rich man's humility may actually make his situation harder. He hides ambition when he should display it. He downplays hunger when he should demand recognition. He plays small in a world that rewards appearances of greatness. By pretending to be less, he becomes less in the eyes of others. He gains nothing and loses everything. Appearances as weapons. It is a mistake to think appearances are shallow. Appearances are weapons, sharper than steel. Men judge not by truth but by what they see. Rarely do they pierce the veil to find reality. This is why rulers, merchants, and priests have always mastered the art of masks. The mask of poverty is among the most effective. It makes the strong appear harmless, the cunning appear sincere, the powerful appear relatable. It disarms enemies before the battle begins. It wins allies without cost. It keeps envy asleep. It buys time. For the wealthy, this weapon is indispensable. They can afford to look weak because they are strong. But for the poor, appearances must be chosen differently. If you lack fortune, you cannot afford to appear weaker than you already are. Your weapon must be the mask of ambition, the image of potential, the appearance of strength you do not yet have. That is the only way to attract opportunity and command respect. To wear the mask of poverty when you are truly poor is to strip yourself of your last defense. Conclusion: the Machiavellian warning. The rich love pretending to be poor because it protects their fortunes, disarms their rivals, and manipulates the crowd. It is not a sign of virtue, but of strategy. They eat humble meals and wear plain clothes not because they must, but because they know appearances shape power. Their disguise is armor, not identity. For the ordinary man, however, to copy this is self-destruction. Poverty as reality earns no praise, no admiration, no sympathy. It earns only invisibility. The poor must learn not to imitate the masks of the rich, but to understand them, to know why they are used, how they work, and why they succeed. For knowledge of appearances is itself a form of power. Machiavelli's final counsel is this: never forget that life is theatre. The wealthy play their roles to maintain dominion. If you are not wealthy, your role must be different. Do not play the humble man when you cannot afford the costume. Do not pretend to be poor when the world already assumes it. Instead, craft appearances that elevate, not diminish. The rich may hide behind poverty, but you must never. In a world ruled by illusions, choose your mask carefully, or be ruled by those who do.